Сайн байцгаана уу хүн үзэгчдээ. Өнөөдөр манай дефакто нэвтрүүлгийн зочноор дэлхийн эрүүл мэндийг хамгаалах байгууллагын халдварт өвчний дархлаажуулалтын програм хөтөлбөрийг хариуцсан ноён Ананда Amarasinghe оролцож байна.
Ananda Amarasinghe дэлхийн эрүүл мэндийн байгууллагын бүсийн дархлаажуулалтын НЭГЖИЙН мэргэжилтэн. Ananda Amarasinghe Орос улбаны улсын Харьков дахь Анагаахын их сургууль, Колумби их сургууль, Энэтхэгийн Ченна их сургуулийг тус төгсжээ. Тэрээр Шри-Ланк улсын эрүүл мэндийн яам, бүгд найрамдах Солонгос улсад олон улсын вакцины төвд эрдэм шинжилгээний ажилтан зөвлөх зэргийн ажлыг хийж байжээ. Ananda Amarasinghe 30 гаруй бүтээл хэвлүүлсний зэрэгцээ дэлхийн эрүүл мэндийн байгууллагын зөвлөхүүдийн гишүүнээр мөн ажилладаг.
Good morning.
Very good morning.
Please tell us about your mission. What is the purpose here in Mongolia? How is it going on?
I am here to support to the WHO country office and Ministry of Health EPI vaccine immunization team. Basically, I am the focal point for immunization system strengthening and also the vaccine safety. So, as a routine, we visit all the countries. So this is one of my routine visits to the Mongolia to support, mainly focus about the country immunization plan for next multi-year plan we call for next 5 years. What are the priority areas that we need to focus for next 5 years? And also to discuss with the National Vaccine Safety Expert Committee about how to assess the vaccine safety issues and how to share with this information for decision making.
What are those challenges in Mongolia in this regard?
What I would say is the challenges for Mongolia is not different from the other countries in the region and also in global. We live in an era now very with high technology and people are getting a lot of information from media. So our main challenges is how to use the information for decision making. This is not only for the public, general public, also the political decision making, program decision making, and also the individual decision making. So that for what I see in today in global and regional and even in Mongolia, the decision making based on the available information. If you look like 20-30 years ago, we have very limited information. So it is very easy for us to convince people, give the message for the people for their decision making. The vaccine is a very, it's like one of the greatest the discovery in the human in the medicine for in the last century. It has saved millions of lives, not only the deaths, but also the we call the illness, sickness, we call morbidity.
Let's go to whole spectrum of vaccines, right? Vaccines are killing viruses or microbes?
I would call vaccines main target, I would say for general people to understand. Vaccine is going to protect the individual from all microbes. When we are calling microbes, it include virus, bacteria, and so on.
Okay, so that human innately we have a capacity to protect ourselves.
Yes.
Kind of, we call it immunity, right?
Correct.
And what have vaccines to do with this, our immunity? Either they are cooperating, enhancing, or what's happening in medical terms?
You use a very good word. I would call both two good words. You word very clearly. That is the enhancing and cooperating. We individual person, we respond to the diseases differently, not equally. So some people respond to the virus or bacteria when it gets into the body very fast and very effectively. They can manage, they can fight, and they don't want to develop the disease. But some people's immunity is weak. So when the bacteria or virus get into your body, your body cannot fight against that bacteria or virus, so you become sick. So what vaccine does is that they take that proactive role of enhanced immunization. That means the virus, the vaccines contain either the vaccine contain either virus or bacteria. Artificially we introduce into the body, stimulate your immunity so before the natural virus or bacteria comes.
So vaccination is kind of prevention.
Prevention.
Not treatment.
It is not treatment.
Prevention.
Basically, it's a prevention.
So that's why, because it's prevention, it's very important to get the people this vaccine all around the world, and including Mongolia. What are the most challenges about which vaccines the people are either supporting or resisting, or because they don't know, just not even covered in Mongolia?
Yeah. So the thing is, as we are calling about the prevention, we give the vaccines to the healthy people. That is the number one challenge. So now you ask me a question about which vaccine is things there. Let me a little bit explain like this way. For example, we see when we are having a diseases very common in our society, we are happy to take that vaccines because we wanted to prevent from that disease. But if we don't see the illness or disease in your society, you will ask why I do need this vaccine, because we don't have the disease. For example, you can see the polio and measles. You don't have this disease in Mongolia now, right? But if you go to the history of Mongolia in 1940s, 50s, 60s, you have hundreds and thousands of measles and polio, I'm pretty sure. So why today Mongolia is free from polio? Why Mongolia today free from measles? Because the people those days used the vaccines, so they are now protected.
But so they are now younger children which they don't use the vaccine.
Yeah, that's why they are saying. So
but does it mean that we have in Mongolia a program to cover every child, potentially those who have not used, who have not received it yet, with those vaccines? Do we have a national program?
Yeah, the national program, that's exactly what they are doing. We have to continuously, we have to continuously give this one in the younger generation, which they don't see those deadly diseases today, but they have to continue because this virus or bacteria can come back, not from your country, but the now society, we are moving societies.
How many % of our children are vaccinated today against those two?
Very high. In Mongolia, the vaccination coverage is extremely high. To my understanding, it is more than 95%. So it is Mongolia immunization program is very strong, and public are very good and very proactively receiving the vaccines. This is a very good, the trends in Mongolia.
That means we have a less probability that our children may have these diseases, even if it comes to the country.
Very less. Very less.
What are other diseases that we need vaccination?
Now the thing is, you can see now we are moving our epidemiology of the diseases also moving slowly. So you can see we are having another diseases like, for example, the rubella. So we have the mumps, and we have a human papilloma virus vaccine we call HPV. We have pneumococcal diseases. These diseases, the country has to some extent, I am not calling it a very high level, but it has some extent, these diseases are existing in the country.
What is out of these diseases most commonly happening in this country, in this society, in Mongolia?
Frankly, I don't have the statistics with me to tell exactly what is the one, but as a WHO, we recommended that the name in WHO, we recommend a group of diseases that we need to focus as a global family, not only the country. We have to look at the beyond the country level, country borders. We have to think the region and global. So in global, the WHO recommended the diseases like diphtheria, pertussis, or we call it a whooping cough, tetanus. Those are now very low, but still you have to continue. And there's the hepatitis B, which is preventing the hepatitis B, caused by cancer in long term. And then also nowadays we are thinking of the human papilloma virus, which causes the cancer especially among the females. So this is what the HPV vaccines.
So let's talk a bit about this HPV, because there was a bitter kind of experience we had. We had before, I think it was from Australia, a vaccine tested. Several women were vaccinated, and then there was a rumor that this is not good vaccine, this is dangerous, etc. They stopped that program. Though this vaccine is widely used in Australia, for example, for all women, and they basically don't have that cancer caused by that disease. And America, many developed nations use that vaccines already and accept it. Then in Mongolia, there was a wave of protest based on not very clear sources, that it's dangerous, etc. And today looks like they are more accepting that vaccines. Do you know anything about that vaccine in Mongolian history?
Let's talk this HPV vaccine globally. This HPV vaccine is given to, you have to understand, one specific, this vaccine is, we are giving this one to the young adolescents, young generation. It is not you are giving to the very young children like 1 month or 2 months or 1 year. So this vaccine received by young girls. At this age is a very tricky age, you need to have they can complain differently from some small things. Vaccines are very safe, very efficient. I don't think any country in the world will introduce bad vaccines.
Of course.
Any country. And WHO never recommended any vaccine which is bad. And nowadays in globally, there's a very strict mechanism of coming good vaccines only to the market. Only good vaccine will come to the market. Every country take very strict and very, the rigid process, what we call every country have the national regulatory authority. And they have registered vaccines only after carefully reviewing all the vaccine development process, their benefits and everything. Then when vaccine introduced into the country, it is taken by a decision not only by just the Ministry of Health, it is supported by what we call the expert group. We call National Immunization Technical Advisory Groups, we call NITAG. Those, the highly, the professional groups from different backgrounds, they review all these documents. Based on the existing evidence, they will recommend these vaccines to a country. So what I first wanted to ensure to the public is no bad vaccine will come to the market, to the no way. So the vaccines in your countries are always good and safe. But meantime, I have to acknowledge, as a vaccine also medicine, every medical product has some side effects, small side effects. You take a paracetamol, we take every day, some people for fever, for pain. But if you take paracetamol, some individual, very rarely, have some, the side effects. Sometimes, some people, when you take the paracetamol, some people develop gastritis, burning sensation, right? So similarly, if you take a vaccine, small number of people can, for a short period, they can complain something. For HPV vaccines, we know that for a short period, these, the young girls, they complain for pain, local pain. This is one of the, the major concerns, especially, the social media highlighted very much.
Okay, some few may have kind of burning effect or some pain somewhere.
Some pain, yeah. Some local reaction. We call it a pain syndrome.
Okay.
Right? Regional pain syndrome. We call it a regional pain syndrome.
Okay.
So this is therefore sometimes, again I'm telling you, It's depend on how this, the young girls respond. One girl can say only one day, another girl can complain for one week. Then it is spread in the community differently.
So it doesn't mean that the vaccine is not working.
Vaccine is working
Is
perfectly.
It working perfectly? Okay.
It's worked perfectly.
Another question. Once you are expert in this regard, HIV. We have very small community, but growing also. Is there any prevention for people to have a vaccine against HIV, possible HIV?
HIV vaccine, HIV started like a late or mid 1980s. Since then, the world's community trying to develop a good vaccine against the HIV. Unfortunately, today, I mean, there are vaccines, they are developing, they are trying, but still, this is what exactly I told you. When vaccine comes to the market, it has to give a clear benefit to the individual, clear benefit to the society. And it has to be make sure that it is safe enough. So the vaccine, HIV vaccines, which are developing almost nearly 30 years, still they are not sufficiently, I would call that word, to meet this criteria. For example, the vaccines, what they are saying is like what we call if you give like 100 people, only like 40 people still it's working. So in a national program, we don't go like that. We go what we call the very high efficacy vaccines. That means if you give to 100 people.
So the world has not completed the vaccine. So
it's still not ready.
We people may face that danger of infection with HIV.
Of course, they have to follow the very basic, the precautions against the preventing of the HIV.
For those who has already HIV, if there's any treatment exists?
There are treatment. There are antiviral treatment, very effective.
Okay, effective. Is it expensive one?
It's depending on the countries, but I'm very frankly, I'm not the expert in the HIV area, but there are vaccines, antiviral treatments. Most of the countries, they are given by the government support for these for these patients.
And the people not dying like before with any small flu, they could die. Remember, early 90s, people were very famous stars were dying, and just because they got flu. And
yes.
But it is not the case anymore.
No, not at all. Thanks to vaccines, you can see now.
So
that is another vaccine, the influenza vaccine.
Those who has HIV have treatment now, which is good news.
Good news.
And vaccine is not completely done yet, but it is on the way.
It will on the way.
What
near
is
future.
The other vaccines knowledge you think to you that people should know?
I think, because it's all important for Mongolia, but the Mongolia needs your prevailing diseases. For example, if it's like a tropical countries, if you ask the same question in a tropical country, it is a dengue. But fortunately, in your weather conditions, dengue is not a big issue.
Dengue is what kind of symptoms? What is?
It's a high fever. It's a mosquito vector disease. So in Mongolia, it's a free. So you don't need to worry about. I just give you an example. You ask, but for what I would emphasize in Mongolia, I think rather than for the new vaccines, I think Mongolia should focus about the existing vaccines. I would rather, the request from the general public to focus, to trust on the vaccines, existing vaccines. Take your, the National Immunization Program scheduled vaccines, like, the pentavalent vaccines, which is, again I repeat, diphtheria, pertussis.
You said pentavalent?
It's a pentavalent means in a one shot, it prevents 5 diseases.
Okay, then penta. This, do we, for example, I don't know even, do I have it? I don't know. How do I know? Because
these are mainly for the younger children. These are much more the killers at the younger age.
So you said 95% were covered with vaccines?
Coverage for younger population.
So this penta things?
Yes.
The children's got it?
Got it.
95%?
Yes.
Which
it's a great
fantastic.
achievement.
Yeah. What else?
So other one is what we call the MR or MMR vaccines. That means you have, MR means measles and rubella. other one we call the MMR, measles, rubella, and mumps.
Okay.
So that is also another very important vaccines because it prevent measles, rubella, and the mumps.
And how many % of our children?
Again, the same, about 95%.
And when
to my
do
knowledge.
they get usually? After just they are born, or how old they supposed to have these vaccines?
These MMR vaccines normally given after age of 9 months. It's depend on the country. You know, the country take a decision. For some countries, they start at 9 months. Some countries start at 1 year.
What else? Other vaccines that children should have?
I think probably some vaccines could be think of like, you know, the pneumococcal vaccine. This is mainly for the prevention of the pneumococcal diseases like a pneumonia. So because especially you are in a cold climate, so that is a one good important vaccines. So
you have mentioned at least 3 vaccines that Mongolian kids should have it.
Yeah, when I call the 3 vaccine, but that vaccines included the 8 or diseases.
10 diseases even almost.
Yes.
So, and the 90%, 95% covered, which is good news.
Very good news.
So, which country are you from?
I am from Sri Lanka.
Sri Lanka. And you have been now working with WHO Asia. And compared with other countries, is it high or low? And what is the comparison of Mongolia?
Mongolia, very high.
Very high.
In our Western Pacific region, Mongolia is doing immunization program very well, very well. We are not saying that we are taking very easy in our life. Sometimes we see a small group of people taking, what they are doing is that they twisted the science against the vaccines. These people are very small groups, but they're trying to twist the information, and they take it's like have you seen the elephant? So if you just only explain to people about elephant leg, the people, they don't understand what looks like the elephant, right? So these anti-vaccine groups exactly like that. They take only one leg, they are talking about what is kind of the elephant. So they don't show the complete picture.
Whole elephant.
They only take something somewhere and they try to twist it. So that is why we have to be very careful.
Is it because a kind of unfair competition between suppliers, or it is something like it's a market share issue? Why these people would on the purpose to talk about that?
Frankly, personally, I don't think it is coming from the supplier competition. I don't believe it's come for like that. I don't think so, because the suppliers are smart. They are not foolish to go against one team about same product, because the vaccine, we are talking about the vaccines, not the companies. I think here mainly about the people perceptions. The individuals have their rights. We all are humans, In some countries, frankly, I'm not aware in Mongolia, but some countries it is driven by some beliefs about the societies. Some countries it is religious, some countries. But frankly, I don't know exactly but it can happen.
Then we talked about at least these 3 vaccines that children should have, and another HPV vaccines for young female people. And if there is any other vaccines that the young adult people should have it in case?
Nowadays, we are talking about even, because you see, you also ask about whether we have received some vaccine, all these things. Now we are like old. Because, we give vaccines like, the diphtheria, we call pentavalent vaccines. Sometimes, these vaccines, they protect you lifetime. But some of the people, that protection level, initially it is very high, but with the you are going older age, that protection can little bit drop now.
I see.
So you are becoming a little bit, like a risk susceptible.
You can retake it.
So therefore, we call in vaccine, this is a very routine thing, nothing new. We call booster doses. Booster mean after some times you just give a one shot additional to enhance the immunity already you are having. It is like a ensuring. So that is why now we are also talking about like the adolescents to giving the booster dose for the tetanus and the diphtheria.
The booster is not the original is the first one, but it is supporting the one you have received before.
Yes, it is just boost you, ensure that you are very much protected.
Please tell us about this vaccines against hepatitis B, C, and other things. Because I was told Mongolia had the largest population per capita infected by this disease, and now we use also these vaccines against hepatitis B, for example. So what is the situation there?
The hepatitis B is, I told you, it is against the developing the hepatitis B induced cancer, liver cancer. So I told you pentavalent vaccine. In pentavalent vaccine, hepatitis B vaccine is already included. When I'm talking the pentavalent, that means already I told you there are five in that ingredient.
So those children who got this have a less chance to have this liver cancer?
I would say almost extremely unlikely.
Very good.
They are very highly protected because they got 3 doses.
How about hepatitis C? Do we have
hepatitis C? We don't have vaccines, and hepatitis C is not an issue in your Mongolia, to my knowledge. And Mongolia, however, you are giving hepatitis A vaccine. So hepatitis A vaccine is given against the hepatitis A type, but hepatitis A doesn't cause cancer. It's a different way of the complications. Hepatitis is mainly called the hepatitis. That is like a jaundice. It is mainly about the for a short time you are not able to go to the school, to the work, because you are becoming you are having the illness for like 10 days or 2 weeks, something like that. So it is much more about something the absenteeism.
I see.
Right, school absenteeism.
Recently, I was suggested that, for example, I can take a vaccine against flu.
Yeah.
Which I do.
Yeah.
How does it work?
No, but influenza. Give me, if you don't mind, one to complete about hepatitis A. Specifically, hepatitis A. I want to tell you one thing. Unlike hepatitis B, which transmit through the blood. But hepatitis A, it's transmitted through the water and food.
Oh, goodness. Okay.
So therefore, I would request people to practice a good hygiene, drink clean water, eat safe food. That also prevent hepatitis A largely.
Oh, my goodness.
So it is easy. You don't need to worry too much, unlike hepatitis B.
All right.
So therefore, the message is hepatitis A vaccine is good. But even without that one, still you can survive very, very well if you follow all these basic things. Safe water, safe food. Right? Now I'll come back to the influenza. I think you're asking very good questions. Influenza is a very common in cold climatic countries like in Mongolia. Every year, like when you get in the winter and things, you are getting the chance of the influenza. Unlike the other diseases, the influenza vaccines, the influenza virus is very smart. They change every year, virus itself. So you cannot give the vaccine one time. It is going for your lifetime protection. This is something very different from other vaccines. The other vaccines, once you give one time, you are protected all the time, majorly. But influenza, it is only for that time period. Because the influenza virus slightly different from last year or year before. So therefore, next year when you are coming for the next year, you need to get another shot. But every time everybody doesn't need, actually, what we are saying is we give to the people who are at a risk. Almost, for example, the old age group people who are having the comorbidities, like for example, who are having the diabetes, who are having this heart problems. So those people, when they get the influenza, it makes their life more complicated. So we don't need to go everybody to give influenza every year. It is not practical.
Not practical. So in terms of vaccination in general, nationwide, Mongolia is doing good. It's under the control. You guys are coming, checking what's going on, and overall, less headache than than before.
Yeah, of course. I think. But time to time, sometimes disease can come back. People get some, the concerns about this. Sometimes people are talking about adverse effects following immunizations. You have to understand in our life, small risks sometimes are there, but they are not. That doesn't mean vaccine is bad or things. This has happened. You can see, we fly every day.
Yeah.
It's very safe, right? It makes our life a lot of benefits. But sometimes, very rarely, some unfortunate thing can happen. But when it comes to the vaccines, very rarely, some side effects can happen. We are not saying it is not. But what we want is people to share this. We disseminate information. I ask from our clinicians, doctors to share all these things. Explain the people, right? So you take these small things not too serious. But the government take very serious about everything. No vaccine come to the Mongolia without a very good rigid clearance. Government will not bring any bad vaccine, and to my knowledge, no bad vaccine exists in the world. Only good and safe vaccine exists in the world.
So I thank you for this program, coming and explaining what is this vaccine is, why we should use it. So I think it is a good contribution towards knowledge of the ordinary people. Thank you.
Thank you very much for this opportunity, and I wish you all the best, and I wish all the Mongolian healthy life using a good vaccines and safe vaccines.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much.
Манай дефакто нэвтрүүлгээр дэлхийн эрүүл мэндийн байгууллагын халдвар төвчний дархлаажуулалтын хэлтсийн ажилтан ноён доктор Ananda Amarasinghe оролцлоо. Баярлалаа.